Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today is another LEGO Top 10 Mocks of the Week episode where I get to show you guys the coolest custom creations I happen to see people building in LEGO throughout this last week. I've got tons of links in the description below that lead back to all of the different builders I show today, including the pictures you see flashing by the screen and even more. I don't go in any particular order of best to worst, just 10 builds I really liked from this last week. And before I jump into them, the custom creation that went up in the BrickVault web store, www.brickvault.toys, is a series of Jedi Interceptors developed by Thomas Jenkins in collaboration with a couple other designers. These interceptors are built to minifig scale at high detail, and if you want to see the full video or check out the web store, links again, everything in the description below. So let's jump into the very first build from Lego Nuts. We have Don't Be Afraid, You Will Have a Wonderful Adventure. That's the title, and I've featured this guy a few times now on the top 10 mocks, but I have a feeling I'm just going to keep doing it because the builds here are wonderful and the composition, the picture composition is great. Now I'm very curious about this. I don't know if there was a digital overlay or if what we have here is just a wonderful forced perspective with a Lego build built directly into the back of this book. Either way, the effect is very, very convincing. The lighting is incredible, and all in all, it's just a really fun and warm scene. And then this next build is simply titled The Eye by Matt Goldberg, and this is maybe something I would imagine you might see after taking some type of mind-expanding substance, or who knows, maybe this is a character from some IP that I don't actually know about. I have a feeling this is 100% just a creative and interesting and slightly trippy creation. Unique is an understatement in terms of what we have here, and I like the use of those printed dish pieces that recently came from that Batman set I can't remember the name of off the top of my head. The photoshopped background is also a subtle extra little touch which I think adds to the overall sunshine effect that we have for this character. And then we're moving on to BobDeQuatre, and this, if you couldn't guess, is titled Skull Island. What I think is kind of interesting here is usually when you see a Skull Island from some type of pirate movie, show, or just an art piece, it's often an island with rocks that are kind of in the shape of a skull. But what it looks like here is the actual bleached bone of a giant's skull that is lodged into an island. So there's definitely a different sort of theme behind this particular Skull Island, which I think is kind of fun. The actual build for the skull is great. If I had to take a guess, this could have been maybe a repurposed life-size skull that had been on display at one point, and then he kind of broke it down and wedged it into the side of an island. But who knows? Maybe that's just my projection here. And when you look into the back of the model, there's actually a nice little build for a couple of little roofs and decks, and even a little dock that builds its way further away from the island. Anthony Wilson is up next. This is a builder that I featured several times before in the past, and he makes amazing creations. This is called Northern Ruin, and there is just something so effective about the color combination used here. The red and dark red used as the primary building stones for this ruined castle juxtaposes incredibly well against the white backdrop. And we also have these kind of, I don't know if that's ice sticking out, but maybe they could be blue crystals that are spiking up and away in different parts of the landscape. Everything is sealed off quite well with a nice circular base, and just in general, I really like the effect of the stonework that we have for all those 1x2 plates and tiles along the outside of the cylinder tower. Now from green axles moving down, we have Downi.Bot, which I've got to say really reminds me of Bender, like a kind of an updated, more suave version of the simplified Futurama Bender. For me, it's both the shape of the head and the placement of the cigar that kind of remind me of that, but this robot seems to have a little bit more of a different personality, I suppose, and the body itself feels a little bit more dynamic as well. The build for the chest with the blue orb looks great with that sort of circular outline, and there's quite a lot of animation and life when it comes to the pose of this creation sitting on the stool. I believe it was last week when I showed off a different Lord of the Rings themed build from Simon Hundsbichler, and we're back at it again. He did Rivendell along with a ton of other ones. Honestly, you should just check out his Flickr to see his full Lord of the Rings lineup. But this was my favorite one that he posted from last week, and Rivendell looks amazing. This was one of the more spectacular and ornate areas, I believe, within Middle-earth, both portrayed, I think, in the books and in the movies. And the architecture for the buildings look great. I love the stonework technique along the corners. The pathway slopes upward quite nicely. There's a lot of vegetation, different levels everywhere. And this designer wasn't afraid of changing up the color of the water quite a bit. I like the white water that's going over some of the rocks, and you can see this thing is built with a series of different blues as well as greens, which is a slightly less common approach. Highly recommend you check out the rest of his Lord of the Rings builds though. And then from LegoWyrm, we have something titled To the Death. I do believe this is from some type of IP. This is a character from possibly a cartoon or a game, but there's two really big reasons why I like this model. First of all, I love creations where we have a lot of action that is simply stopped in mid-motion. This is some robotic sharks. There's like cannons on some of them. They're all jumping out of the water at this warrior, and she seems to be jumping back or jumping to the side and shooting straight through the mouth of the main shark that's coming straight at her. The red bush piece is an excellent blood splatter effect. And also, second reason why I really like this, I just haven't quite seen anybody make wave patterns in water using this offset slope technique at the bottom. The figures are great, the sharks are great, but there's just some interesting elements in the natural nature part of this build that I haven't seen people use techniques like this quite before in the past, and I love it when I see just something so simple and so commonly done built in a way that is brand new. We're getting into the last three. Remember, I'm not going in any particular order that I think is best to worst out of the top 10. I'm just showing 10 I like. This is from Jarek, and he's got the micro exploration of a microplanet. So the micro astronaut figures that came out not too long ago have been getting put to good use in several MOCs, and this is the most recent one that I have seen. And in the description, Jarek describes that he gave himself a challenge by using a base piece of a brick-built figure's torso, and you can see that for the body of this this little rover. Outside of that, you can create a custom build around it, and I think there's a wonderful little world here. These golden ornate swirls have a way of melding pretty well with the trans yellow, and at this size, these smooth slope pieces could either be rocky or possibly like a dried lava bed. It's kind of interesting. You can sort of play around with some of the details from this little build. Also, Jarek is one of the builders that has a lot of amazing custom creations up in the web store. Cough, cough. You can still check that out, also in the description below. And I know people always get upset when I put a digital build into the top 10, but there are some fun techniques used here when it comes to the Sakmat. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's a particular type of jet, and the builder is Cagerrin. I hope I'm saying that right. But what we're looking at is a very large-scale fighter jet where this extra size has been put to incredibly good use because the dimensions of the wings, slowly but surely tilting downward and moving back, have been captured great. The intakes are incredibly round and they meld back into the body of the hull in the bottom. And despite the fact that we have a series of different wedge wing plate pieces and different solid bricks and sloped pieces all colliding at different angles, this designer has managed to make it all look extremely buttery. I certainly hope that the connections on the inside of this digital render work in real life, and that if hopefully at some point they can get a physical build for this, because it looks absolutely amazing in its current state, and it's one of the better larger brick built jets I have seen for the whole year. Then this next build comes from the designer LDAgo, and I don't know who this could possibly be. Gosh, he looks familiar somehow. Who knows, maybe I'll think of the name of this guy later. Oh, just kidding, yeah, it's Baby Yoda obviously, and this isn't even the first time that I've shown a Baby Yoda Lego build off in top 10 MOCs ever since The Mandalorian came out. Here he is standing. It looks like he could be life-size, in fact. Like if you picked up this Lego build, he might be only just a little bit smaller than what you see in the show. And so far, this is the best version of a larger brick-built Baby Yoda that I have seen. He looks very expressive. Some of the smoother, sleeker pieces around the eyes look and feel a little chunky, but they absolutely capture the effect of Baby Yoda as a character, I think, altogether. It's a really fun build. I had a really fun time making this video. That is going to be it for this week's top 10 mocks of the week video. And remember, guys, check out all the links in the description below. Check out the web store. Chances are, if you liked any of this stuff that I showed you today, you will enjoy the cool creations we have up at the web store. You can build them yourselves, and you'll also like a lot of these other builders where you can see pictures flashing by the screen right now. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.